Ever feel like you're moving too fast? Or too slow? And somehow it's messing everything up, like no matter what you do, something just feels off. You're trying to say the right things, show up the right way, give space, but not too much, and still, the connection feels shaky. That confusion? It's not random, and it's not because you're bad at relationships. Here's the truth nobody really teaches us. Respecting your partner's pace isn't about waiting around, holding yourself back, or pretending you don't care. It's about understanding how humans actually bond. Real connection doesn't grow through pressure or urgency. It grows through safety, timing, and emotional regulation. Most relationship problems don't start because people don't care. They start because the nervous systems are moving at different speeds. One person feels rushed, the other feels ignored. And suddenly, love turns into a power struggle. Who wants more? Who's pulling away? Who's chasing? But once you understand pace, everything shifts. You stop taking behavior personally. You stop forcing moments. You start reading what the body is communicating, not just the words. And that's when relationships stop feeling like work and start feeling natural again. When pace is respected, trust builds. When trust builds, attraction deepens. And when both people feel safe, connection finally flows the way it's supposed to. Welcome back to Life Love Learning, where we break down love, life, and human behavior without the fluff, the games, or the fake advice. This channel is all about real understanding, the kind that actually helps you build healthier, more secure relationships. Today, we're diving into something that quietly makes or breaks relationships more than people realize: how to respect your partner's pace, emotionally, physically, and mentally, without losing yourself in the process. Because let's be real, most people are never taught how pacing actually works. They're just told to wait, push, or read the room, with no real explanation behind it. This isn't about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's not about walking on eggshells or shrinking your needs to keep someone comfortable. And it's definitely not about the toxic idea of who cares less wins that mindset creates anxiety, confusion, and power struggles, not connection. This video is grounded in real relationship psychology, attachment theory, and nervous system science explained in a way that actually makes sense and applies to real life. No jargon, no overcomplication. If you've ever felt confused by mixed signals, rejected for wanting clarity, rushed into something you weren't ready for, or stuck waiting without knowing where you stand, this video is for you. Chemistry gets people together. That spark, that instant pull, that feeling of excitement is what makes two people notice each other in the first place. But chemistry alone has never been what keeps people together. Pace does. Pace determines whether a connection feels safe enough to grow or stressful enough to fall apart. Psychologically, every human has what's called a comfort window. This is the zone where closeness feels exciting but not overwhelming, and distance feels grounding but not rejecting. When a relationship moves inside that window, people relax, open up, and invest emotionally. When it moves outside of it, the nervous system steps in to protect them. If things move too fast, the body reads it as a threat. The brain doesn't think, "This is love." It thinks, "This is too much." Heart rate increases, anxiety kicks in, and pulling back becomes a form of self-regulation. On the flip side, when things move too slowly, the body reads it as emotional abandonment. The message becomes, "I'm not important enough," which triggers insecurity and doubt. Here's a common example. You feel ready to define the relationship. You bring it up with clarity and intention. Suddenly, your partner pulls back. Texts slow down. Energy shifts. It's easy to assume they don't care or that you asked for too much. But in many cases, it's not about lack of interest. It's about their nervous system feeling flooded. The conversation moved faster than their emotional capacity could handle at that moment. Attachment psychology supports this. Research shows that emotional pacing directly affects trust formation. Trust doesn't grow from intensity, big declarations, or fast milestones. It grows from consistency, predictability, and emotional safety. When someone knows what to expect from you, their nervous system calms, and trust has room to build. When pace is ignored, even good intentions backfire. People don't feel chosen. They feel pressured. Pressure creates resistance, not connection. But when pace is respected, chemistry has somewhere to land. It stops burning out and starts building something real. That's why pace matters more than chemistry. Chemistry starts the fire, pace keeps it alive. Chemistry might catch your attention, but the nervous system decides whether a relationship actually feels safe enough to continue. This is the part most people miss. They assume reactions are logical or intentional, when in reality, most responses in relationships are automatic body responses, not conscious choices. Here's the science, kept simple. Every person has an autonomic nervous system that constantly scans for safety or threat. It doesn't ask, is this person good for me? It asks, do I feel okay right now? When the pace of a relationship feels manageable, the nervous system stays calm, and calm creates openness. When the pace feels too fast, the nervous system switches into fight or flight mode. Fast pace equals pressure, pressure equals threat, and threat triggers shutdown, withdrawal, or defensiveness. A safe pace, on the other hand, keeps the body regulated. When someone feels emotionally safe, their system stays grounded, they communicate more clearly, stay present, and engage more fully. That's why pace isn't just emotional. It's physiological. This becomes especially important for people who grew up with emotional unpredictability. If someone didn't know what to expect from caregivers, love one moment, distance the next, their nervous system learned to stay alert. Even healthy closeness can feel overwhelming if it arrives too quickly. When pushed past their comfort zone, their body doesn't think, this is good. It thinks, I need to protect myself. Here's a common example. You're texting consistently. You're excited, open, engaged. Suddenly, their replies slow down, shorter messages, less initiation. It's easy to label this as manipulation, loss of interest, or mixed signals, but often, it's not that at all. It's regulation. Their nervous system is trying to create space to calm down. This is why respecting pace means learning to read regulation cues, not just listening to words. Words can say I'm fine while the body is saying this is too much, pulling back. Slowing responses or needing space are often signs of overload, not rejection.
When you understand that the nervous system is the real boss, you stop personalizing everything. You stop chasing or shutting down. Instead, you adjust the pace so both systems can stay regulated, and that's where real connection grows. When people talk about chemistry, they usually focus on physical attraction, touch, closeness, affection, intensity. But what often gets overlooked is that emotional pace and physical pace are not the same thing. Confusing the two is one of the fastest ways to create misunderstanding and chaos in a relationship. Emotional pace is about vulnerability, commitment, and future orientation. It's how quickly someone feels comfortable opening up, defining the relationship, or talking about what's next. Physical pace, on the other hand, is about touch, affection, and bodily closeness. These two systems operate independently in the brain, and they don't always move at the same speed. That's why someone can be physically affectionate but emotionally slow. They may love cuddling, holding hands, or being close, yet feel overwhelmed by conversations about labels or long-term plans. At the same time, someone else might be emotionally deep but physically cautious. They're comfortable sharing thoughts, feelings, and intentions, but need more time to feel safe with touch. Psychology refers to this mismatch as asynchronous bonding. It means different parts of the connection are developing on different timelines. And contrary to popular belief, this isn't a red flag by default, it's normal human behavior. Here's a common example. They're warm, affectionate, and close when you're together. They initiate cuddling and seem present in the moment. But when future talk comes up, they change the subject or shut down. That doesn't automatically mean mixed signals or manipulation. It means their emotional system isn't moving at the same pace as their physical comfort. Problems arise when people assume one pace should dictate the other. When physical closeness is taken as proof of emotional readiness, or emotional depth is used to push physical boundaries, trust erodes. The nervous system reacts with confusion and resistance. Healthy partners don't force alignment. They bridge the gap with communication. That means naming what you notice without accusation. I feel close physically, and I also notice we move slower emotionally. Can we talk about that? This kind of clarity creates safety instead of pressure. When emotional and physical pace are respected separately, chemistry becomes sustainable. The relationship stops feeling confusing and starts feeling collaborative. Pace isn't about matching perfectly, it's about understanding where each person is and moving forward with awareness and respect. When you rush someone in a relationship, even with the best intentions, their brain doesn't register it as care or commitment. It registers it as pressure, and pressure, psychologically, is interpreted as a form of control, not because you're trying to dominate, but because urgency removes choice and the brain is wired to protect choice. From a neuroscience perspective, the brain processes urgency as a threat cue. Anything that feels like this needs to happen now activates the stress response. The nervous system doesn't stop to analyze your intention. It simply asks, do I feel safe? If the answer is no, resistance shows up. That's why even well-meaning phrases can land harshly. Take this example. Why can't you just open up? What you may mean is, I want to feel closer to you. What their brain hears is, you're failing at being who I need. That message triggers shame and defensiveness, not vulnerability. Instead of opening, the nervous system protects by shutting down, pulling away, or getting irritated. The more pressure applied, the more distance is created. This is why rushing often backfires and deepens the very gap you're trying to close. Psychologically, control isn't only about dominating behavior. It's about removing emotional autonomy. When someone feels they're being pushed toward a timeline they didn't choose, their system reacts as if boundaries are being crossed. Even gentle pressure can feel invasive if the timing isn't right. Respecting pace doesn't mean disappearing or going cold. That's another mistake people make. They think giving space means withdrawing affection, attention, or care. But withdrawal feels like abandonment, which creates a different kind of threat. Healthy pacing is about holding space without pushing. It sounds like, I care about you, and I'm here, but I respect your timing. That message keeps connection intact while allowing the nervous system to regulate. When people feel they still have choice, safety increases. When safety increases, openness follows naturally. That's why respecting pace isn't passive, it's emotionally intelligent. It creates trust, lowers defenses, and allows connection to grow without force. Chemistry might spark interest, but safety is what allows connection to grow. When someone feels safe, they lean in. When they feel trapped, they pull away. This difference is subtle, but psychologically, it's everything. Safety expands connection. Pressure shrinks it. According to Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory, the human nervous system is constantly scanning the environment for cues of safety or threat. One of the strongest safety cues is choice. When people feel they have agency, their nervous system stays regulated, allowing openness, curiosity, and emotional engagement. When choice is removed and replaced with obligation, the nervous system shifts into defense. This is why the same request can land in completely different ways depending on how it's framed. Compare these two statements. I'm here when you're ready. We need to talk now. The first signals availability and respect for autonomy. It tells the nervous system, I'm not being forced. That sense of choice keeps the body calm and open. The second statement, even if well-intended, creates urgency and pressure. The nervous system hears, I don't have an option. That loss of choice triggers a defensive response: withdrawal, shutdown, or irritation. Feeling trapped doesn't always come from big ultimatums. It often comes from subtle cues, repeated check-ins that feel urgent, emotional demands tied to timelines, or the sense that affection is conditional on progress. When someone feels trapped, their body goes into self-protection mode. Connection becomes something to manage instead of something to enjoy. On the other hand, safety creates expansion. When people feel emotionally safe, they become more expressive, more affectionate, and more willing to move forward. This isn't because they're being convinced, it's because their nervous system is calm enough to explore closeness. Respecting pace is about keeping safety intact. It means expressing your needs clearly without turning them into demands. It means allowing space without withdrawing warmth. And it means understanding that openness can't be forced, it has to be invited. When people feel safe, they move toward connection on their own. When they feel trapped, even love can feel like pressure. That's why pace matters more than chemistry. Chemistry may create attraction, but safety determines whether that attraction can turn into something real and lasting. Here's a refined, polished version of your text with smoother flow, clearer psychology language, and the same meaning preserved. Chemistry can make two people feel drawn to each other instantly, but attachment style determines how fast or slow that connection actually feels safe. Attachment styles aren't personality flaws or weaknesses, they're learned survival strategies shaped by early relationships. Once you understand them, a lot of confusing relationship behavior suddenly starts to make sense. People with a secure attachment style tend to move at a steady, balanced pace. They're comfortable with both closeness and space. They don't feel the need to rush emotional milestones, and they don't panic when things slow down. Their nervous system stays relatively regulated, which allows trust and intimacy to build naturally over time. Those with an anxious attachment style usually move faster. For them, closeness equals safety. They bond quickly, seek reassurance, and want clarity early in the connection. When the pace slows, their nervous system interprets it as danger. Something's wrong. I might lose this. This is a neediness. It's a learned response to emotional inconsistency in past relationships. On the other side, people with an avoidant attachment style often move more slowly. Closeness can feel overwhelming, even when they care deeply. Their nervous system learned early on that independence equals safety. When emotional or relational intensity increases, slowing down becomes their way of regulating closeness, not rejecting it. This is where problems usually begin. An anxious partner speeds up to feel safe. An avoidant partner slows down to feel safe. Both are trying to self-regulate, but without understanding attachment dynamics, each misreads the other. The anxious partner thinks they're losing interest. The avoidant partner thinks I'm being pushed. For example, when an avoidant partner slows things down, fewer conversations about the future, a stronger need for space, it's easy to take it personally. But psychologically, this behavior isn't about lack of care. It's about preventing emotional overwhelm. None of these attachment styles are bad. They're adaptive patterns formed through early experience. Understanding them helps you stop personalizing behavior that isn't personal. Instead of reacting with panic or pressure, you can respond with awareness, patience, and communication. When pace is adjusted with attachment in mind, chemistry becomes sustainable. You stop fighting each other's nervous systems and start working with them, and that's when connection has room to grow without constant tension or instability. When people hear respect your partner's pace, they often assume it means shrinking themselves, staying quiet, or waiting indefinitely. But psychologically, that's not what healthy pacing looks like at all. Respecting pace does not mean abandoning yourself. It means balancing emotional awareness with self-respect. Silencing your needs doesn't create safety, it creates resentment. When you suppress what you feel to keep the peace, your nervous system doesn't relax. It tightens. Over time, unspoken needs turn into emotional distance, passive frustration, or sudden blow-ups. That's not patience, that's self-erasure. Healthy pacing allows both people to stay regulated. This is where language matters. Notice the difference between pressure and clarity. Pressure sounds like demands tied to urgency. Why aren't we there yet? Or you should know by now. Clarity, on the other hand, sounds grounded and respectful. A healthy phrase might be, I respect your timing, and I also need clarity about where this is going. That statement does two important psychological things. First, it acknowledges your partner's pace, which helps their nervous system feel seen rather than threatened. Second, it names your own need without apology. You're not pushing for immediate change, you're communicating your internal reality. This is why boundaries are not pressure. Boundaries don't tell someone what they must do. They explain what you need in order to stay emotionally present. Pressure removes choice. Boundaries preserve it. They allow the other person to respond honestly instead of defensively. Silence, on the other hand, is often mistaken for respect. But prolonged silence creates ambiguity, and ambiguity is stressful for the nervous system. When needs aren't expressed, the other person is left guessing. That uncertainty can feel just as threatening as being rushed. Respecting pace means staying connected while being honest. It's holding space without disappearing. It's saying, I care about you, and I care about myself too. When both people feel allowed to exist fully in the relationship, trust deepens naturally. Pace only works when it includes mutual clarity. Without that, patience turns into waiting, and waiting turns into disconnection. Healthy pacing isn't about choosing between yourself and your partner, it's about honoring both at the same time.
When relationships fall apart, it's rarely because of one big moment. Most of the time, it's the small unspoken tensions that pile up over time. That's why micro check-ins matter. Small conversations done consistently prevent big blow-ups later. They keep the emotional system regulated and the connection flexible instead of fragile. A micro check-in is a simple, low-pressure question that invites honesty without forcing a decision. Something like, how's this pace feeling for you lately? On the surface, it sounds casual. Psychologically, it does something powerful. It signals curiosity instead of control. It tells your partner, I care about how this feels for you, not just where it's going. From a psychology standpoint, micro check-ins support collaborative bonding. Collaborative bonding means both people feel like participants in shaping the relationship, not subjects being evaluated. When pace is discussed openly and regularly, power stays balanced. No one feels like they're being chased or cornered. No one feels like they have to guess what the other person wants. Without these small conversations, people tend to fill in the gaps with assumptions. One person thinks, they're fine, I won't bring it up. The other thinks, if I say something, I'll cause a problem. Silence grows, tension builds, and eventually the conversation explodes under pressure. That's when emotions come out sideways through withdrawal, defensiveness, or sudden ultimatums. Micro check-ins interrupt that cycle early. They normalize talking about pace before it becomes a problem. Instead of asking why someone is acting a certain way, which often feels accusatory, you're asking how the experience feels. That keeps the nervous system calm and open. These check-ins also protect your own emotional health. They prevent you from waiting silently, hoping things will magically align. You stay connected to your needs while still respecting your partner's rhythm. Importantly, Micro check-ins don't demand immediate answers. They invite reflection. Someone might say, "I'm not totally sure yet, but I appreciate you asking." That response alone builds trust because it shows honesty without pressure. Over time, these small conversations create emotional safety. Both people learn that pace isn't a test, it's a shared process. And when pace is approached collaboratively instead of competitively, chemistry has space to grow into something stable, mutual, and real. A lot of people think attraction grows from intensity, fast bonding, constant contact, big emotional moments. And while that kind of energy can feel exciting at first, it's rarely what creates lasting pull. Psychologically, slowing down actually increases attraction because it gives the brain time to attach instead of just react. Scarcity isn't about disappearing, playing games, or creating distance. It's about intentional presence. When you're not constantly flooding someone with attention, each interaction has room to land. The nervous system stays curious instead of overwhelmed. Attraction grows in that space. From a neuroscience perspective, fast intensity is fueled by dopamine. Dopamine is the excitement chemical. It's what gives you that rush, that obsession, that can't stop thinking about you feeling. But dopamine burns fast. When it's overstimulated, the brain adapts quickly, and what once felt thrilling starts to feel normal or even exhausting. Slow consistency, on the other hand, builds oxytocin. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It's associated with trust, safety, and emotional attachment. Oxytocin doesn't spike from intensity. It grows from repeated, predictable experiences of care. That's why relationships that move at a sustainable pace tend to feel deeper over time, not flatter. When you slow down, the brain has time to integrate emotional experiences. Instead of constantly chasing the next hit of excitement, the nervous system starts associating you with calm, comfort, and emotional regulation. That association is powerful. People don't just want what excites them, they want what soothes them. Slowing down also creates room for anticipation. Anticipation strengthens attraction because the mind stays engaged. When everything is given too quickly, there's nothing left to lean toward. But when presence is intentional, moments feel earned instead of consumed. This doesn't mean withholding affection or acting detached. It means being fully present when you are there, listening, engaging, connecting, and allowing space in between for the bond to settle. That balance keeps attraction alive without burning it out. Chemistry might start the fire, but pace controls the flame. Fast intensity can spark quickly, but slow consistency is what keeps attraction warm, steady, and sustainable. When you slow down, you're not losing momentum, you're giving attraction time to deepen. In relationships, people often get stuck analyzing words, what was said, how it was phrased, what it might mean. But psychologically, actions tell you far more than language ever will. Words can be shaped by fear, politeness, or uncertainty. Nervous systems, on the other hand, don't fake reactions. That's why reading actions over words is essential when it comes to understanding pace. Words lie. Nervous systems don't. Someone can say, "I like you," "I'm interested," or "I just need a little time," but the body reveals the truth through behavior. If a person is present, consistent, and responsive, the pace is working. Their nervous system feels regulated enough to stay engaged. They show up, follow through, and remain emotionally available even if they're moving slowly. On the other hand, when someone starts disappearing, it's usually not a communication issue, it's an overwhelm issue. Pulling back, delayed responses, emotional distance, or avoidance are often signs that the nervous system has gone into self-protection mode. That doesn't automatically mean a lack of interest. It means the pace has exceeded what feels manageable for them. This is where people get confused. They hear reassuring words and ignore dysregulating behavior, or they panic at silence and assume rejection. But psychology teaches us to watch patterns, not moments. One delayed text means nothing. A consistent shift in availability means something needs attention. Reading actions doesn't mean becoming hypervigilant or suspicious. It means staying grounded in reality instead of getting lost in interpretation. Ask yourself simple questions. Are they showing up? Are they responsive when present? Does their behavior feel steady or erratic? When pace is aligned, actions feel calm and predictable. When pace is off, actions become inconsistent. That inconsistency is information, not something to explain away or chase. Importantly, reading actions also protects your self-respect. It keeps you from arguing with reality or clinging to potential. If someone's nervous system is overwhelmed, pushing for verbal reassurance won't regulate it. Adjusting pace will. Understanding this helps you respond instead of react. You stop demanding clarity from someone who's already dysregulated. You slow down, check in, or decide whether the current pace works for you. Chemistry might spark interest, but behavior reveals safety. When you learn to read nervous system cues instead of just listening to words, relationships become clearer, calmer, and far less confusing. Pace is often framed as a timing issue. Give it time, be patient, let things unfold. And sometimes that's true. But there are moments when different paces aren't about timing at all, they're about incompatibility. Knowing the difference is crucial for emotional health. Sometimes it's not that one person needs more time and the other needs less. It's that their core needs move at fundamentally different speeds. One person may need emotional clarity, commitment, or consistency to feel secure. The other may need prolonged ambiguity, distance, or minimal expectations to feel safe. When those needs stay misaligned over time, waiting stops being respectful and starts becoming self-betrayal. Psychology is clear on this. Unmet needs don't disappear. They accumulate. When someone repeatedly suppresses their needs in the name of patience, the nervous system doesn't relax, it stores tension. Over time, that tension shows up as resentment, emotional numbness, or sudden emotional outbursts that feel disproportionate but are actually overdue. This is where people often gaslight themselves. They tell themselves, "I'm being understanding," when in reality, they're abandoning what they need to stay emotionally regulated. Respecting pace doesn't mean tolerating indefinite uncertainty. It means allowing space while still honoring your limits. A helpful question is this: am I choosing patience, or am I avoiding a difficult truth? Patience feels grounded. Self-betrayal feels anxious, draining, and one-sided. When pace becomes incompatible, communication stops producing movement. Check-ins lead to vague answers. Promises stay undefined. Time passes, but nothing shifts. That's not slow progress, that's stagnation.
Healthy relationships can handle different paces because both people are willing to adjust. In incompatible dynamics, only one person does the adjusting. The other stays comfortable while the first carries the emotional weight. Recognizing incompatibility isn't failure, it's emotional maturity. It's understanding that chemistry alone isn't enough to sustain connection. Safety, reciprocity, and shared pacing matter just as much. Respecting pace includes respecting yourself. Sometimes the healthiest choice isn't to wait longer, it's to acknowledge that what you need and what they can offer don't align. And that clarity, while painful, prevents long-term resentment and emotional erosion. Talking about pace is one of the most important and most mishandled conversations in relationships. Many people avoid it because they're afraid of sounding needy, pushy, or insecure. But psychologically, it's not the topic that creates pressure, it's how it's communicated. When done with curiosity instead of accusation, conversations about pace actually build safety instead of tension. Accusatory language puts the nervous system on defense. A question like, "Why are you so slow?" may sound honest, but it carries judgment. The brain hears blame, "You're doing something wrong." That immediately triggers defensiveness, shutdown, or avoidance. Instead of opening up, the other person protects themselves. Curiosity works differently. A question like, "What helps you feel comfortable moving forward?" signals respect and emotional maturity. It tells the other person you're interested in understanding their internal experience, not controlling the outcome. That keeps the nervous system calm and allows honesty to surface. Psychologically, curiosity preserves choice, and choice is essential for emotional safety. When people feel they're being evaluated or pushed toward a timeline, they often respond with vagueness or withdrawal. When they feel invited into a conversation, they're more likely to engage authentically. Tone matters as much as words. Grounded delivery, calm voice, open posture, steady breathing reinforces safety. Even well-phrased questions can feel like pressure if delivered with tension or urgency. The body communicates just as much as language. Talking about pace without sounding needy also means owning your experience instead of demanding change. Statements like, "I've noticed I start feeling anxious when things feel unclear, and I want to understand how you experience our pace," keep the focus on connection rather than correction. It's also important to accept the answer you receive. Curiosity isn't a tactic to get reassurance. It's a genuine invitation for truth. If the response reveals a mismatch in needs, that information is valuable, not threatening. Healthy conversations about pace don't force alignment, they create clarity. And clarity reduces anxiety far more effectively than reassurance ever could. When you approach pace with curiosity, you show confidence, not neediness. You demonstrate emotional self-awareness and respect for both yourself and your partner. And that's exactly what allows chemistry to evolve into something stable, mutual, and real. One of the biggest reasons people feel confused or rushed in relationships today has nothing to do with their partner. It has everything to do with social media. Instagram, TikTok, and highlight reel culture have completely distorted what normal relationship pace looks like. What you see online isn't real pace, it's performative pace. Social media shows milestones without context. Engagement photos after 6 months, soft launch posts, vacation reels with captions about forever. None of that shows the actual emotional work, the conversations, the conflicts, or the regulation that made those moments possible. But your brain doesn't know that. It just sees progress and starts comparing. Psychologically, comparison creates false urgency. Your nervous system interprets what you see as a timeline you're falling behind on. Suddenly, you're not asking, "Does this feel right?" You're asking, "Why aren't we there yet?" That shift moves you out of presence and into pressure. This is dangerous because pace isn't linear or universal. Real-life connection unfolds through shared experiences, trust-building moments, and emotional safety, none of which fit neatly into a 30-second video. When people try to match social media pace, they often skip the regulation phase. That's when relationships feel intense but unstable. Example, you're enjoying getting to know someone, but after scrolling online, you start feeling anxious. You bring up commitment earlier than you're emotionally ready for, not because you need it yet, but because comparison triggered fear of being left behind. That conversation now carries pressure that didn't exist before. Social media also rewards visibility, not stability. Relationships that move quietly and steadily don't perform well online, but they often last longer offline. Real pace prioritizes how the nervous systems interact, not how a relationship looks to others. Another trap is assuming faster equals better. In reality, speed often masks insecurity. Slow, consistent pacing allows the brain to attach safely. It gives oxytocin time to build. It creates emotional memory instead of emotional whiplash. Your relationship doesn't need to keep up with anyone else. It doesn't need to hit milestones on a public timeline. The only pace that matters is the one where both people feel safe, chosen, and emotionally regulated. When you stop measuring your relationship against social media, you return to presence. And presence, not performance, is what actually sustains connection. When people think about building trust in relationships, they often imagine big moments, dramatic confessions, grand gestures, emotional speeches, or intense displays of affection. Those moments can feel powerful, but psychologically, they don't create trust. Pace does. Trust isn't built in emotional spikes. It's built in predictability. The nervous system relaxes when it knows what to expect. Small, consistent behaviors signal safety far more effectively than dramatic promises ever could. Grand gestures activate dopamine excitement, novelty intensity, but dopamine fades quickly. Trust, on the other hand, is rooted in oxytocin and serotonin, which grow through repetition and reliability. That's why someone can say all the right things and still feel unsafe, while another person says very little and feels deeply grounding. Pace allows trust to form because it gives the brain time to collect evidence. Did they show up when they said they would? Did their behavior stay consistent across moods and situations? Do their words match their actions over time? These micro moments are how the brain decides whether closeness is safe. For example, a partner who checks in regularly, respects boundaries, and maintains steady communication builds more trust than someone who disappears for days and then returns with a passionate explanation. One feels stable, the other feels chaotic, even if the emotion is intense. Psychologically, inconsistency creates vigilance. When someone is unpredictable, the nervous system stays alert, scanning for the next shift. That state makes it hard to bond deeply, no matter how strong the chemistry feels. Pace also prevents emotional debt. When gestures are too big to fast, they create unspoken pressure. I did this for you. Now you owe me closeness. Even if that pressure isn't intentional, the brain picks up on it. Trust can't grow under obligation. Reliable pacing, on the other hand, communicates choice. It says, I'm here because I want to be, not because I'm trying to secure something. That message lowers defenses and invites mutual investment.
Over time, these small, predictable moments compound. Trust doesn't arrive all at once. It accumulates quietly, and when challenges show up, because they always do, relationships built on steady pace have something solid to stand on. Chemistry might start the spark, but pace keeps the fire steady, and in the long run, trust formed through consistency outlasts any grand gesture ever could. At the core of every healthy relationship isn't control, persuasion, or perfect timing, it's mutual regulation. When people misunderstand pace, they often try to manage it by pushing, pulling, or negotiating closeness. But pace doesn't respond well to force. It responds to safety. Mutual regulation means two nervous systems learning how to settle with each other. Instead of one person constantly adjusting while the other stays rigid, both partners subtly respond to cues: tone, timing, energy, and emotional availability. When that happens, relationships feel calm instead of confusing. Control creates tension because it removes choice. Even gentle pressure can trigger resistance. If someone feels their autonomy is threatened, the brain doesn't distinguish much between emotional coercion and physical threat. Both activate defense. That's why trying to get someone comfortable faster almost always backfires. Healthy pace alignment happens naturally when both people feel emotionally safe. Safety tells the nervous system, I don't have to protect myself here. Once protection drops, openness increases. Conversations flow more easily. Touch feels natural instead of tense. Silence feels peaceful instead of loaded. This is why relationships that feel calm often look boring from the outside but feel deeply secure on the inside. There's no constant decoding, no power struggle, no anxiety about where things stand. That calm isn't lack of passion, it's regulated connection. When pace is about control, one person is usually chasing clarity while the other is managing distance. Both are stressed. When pace is about regulation, both people feel oriented toward the same goal. How do we stay connected without overwhelming each other? Psychologically, mutual regulation builds trust faster than reassurance ever could. The body learns safety through experience, not explanation. Each calm interaction reinforces the belief that closeness doesn't cost freedom and space doesn't mean abandonment. When two nervous systems feel safe together, pace aligns without effort. There's no need to push timelines or slow things artificially. Decisions unfold organically because neither person is trying to protect themselves from the other. That's the real win, not perfect chemistry, not ideal timing, not external validation. The win is a relationship that feels steady, grounded, and emotionally breathable. When connection feels calm instead of confusing, you're no longer managing pace. You're sharing it, and that's where real intimacy lives. 3 questions for my audience. 1. Have you ever felt rushed or held back in a relationship? 2. What does moving too fast mean to you personally? 3. How do you usually communicate your emotional needs? If this video helped you see relationships through a clearer, more grounded lens, take a second to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might be struggling with timing, communication, or emotional connection. You never know. One insight can shift how someone approaches love entirely. Here on Life, Love, Learning, our goal is simple: break down relationship psychology, attachment styles, and human behavior in a way that actually applies to real life. No games, no fluff, just tools that help you build healthier, more secure connections with others and with yourself. Respecting your partner's pace isn't about waiting endlessly or ignoring your needs. It's about understanding how humans bond, how nervous systems interact, and how trust is built through safety, not pressure. When you get this, relationships stop feeling confusing and start feeling intentional. If any part of this video resonated with you, whether you felt rushed, held back, or stuck in between, drop a comment below. Share your experience, your questions, or what you're currently navigating. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. And if you want more content on emotional safety, attachment theory, communication skills, and building real intimacy, make sure notifications are turned on so you don't miss what's next. This channel is about learning love the smart way through awareness, psychology, and self-respect. Thanks for being here. This is Life, Love, Learning, and we'll see you in the next video.